Hi, Nicole. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. I got to tell you in a moment why I'm late. It's funny and appropriate to our topic today. But before we go any further, we're going to talk to you today about Zoom fatigue. But if you want to skip right to the good stuff, go to selfcaretips.org/free guide, and you can learn all about how to take care of yourself, even amidst the overload of Zoom fatigue that many of us are experiencing right now.
Oh, yeah, I hear that for sure.
Yeah, you just finished with a couple of Zoom therapy sessions, right?
Yes, yeah, and I'm already feeling, like that just like overwhelming feeling of just being tired.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. Trying to do therapy online is, well, I mean, we're rising to the challenge, right? But the challenge it is. So yeah, I am late for this because my daughter is actually with my mom right now, and she's doing virtual schooling. And she was struggling to get into their Zoom classroom.
No.
They'd been doing it all morning. They broke for lunch, and then they go to sign back on, and they're calling me, it's broken. We can't figure it out. I'm like, oh, it's okay. We'll get through this.
Oh
So
no.
we succeeded in getting River back into her Zoom class. So
Yes.
crisis averted.
Oh goodness. Yeah, it's crazy because there's so many pros and cons to doing the virtual schooling and virtual working from home too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious, why did you want to talk about Zoom fatigue today?
So it all kind of started when I was talking to a friend of mine this weekend of like she was just feeling like overall just blah, and she had just had a long week of a lot of meetings, a lot of looking at the computer, looking at some kind of screen or phone, checking emails, and she was just like, my head hurts, I don't understand, like I'm not doing anything, I'm not leaving the house, so like why do I feel like this?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of led me to thinking about really what are the effects of what is this Zoom fatigue, and what are the effects of sitting in front of the computer, and like why does our body feel this way, and what are ways to help,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon.
Right.
So kind of trying to find those ways to cope with sitting in front of the computer all day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like maybe we shouldn't be picking on Zoom because whatever you're doing in front of the screen, however you're connecting with other people virtually, it's possible that we could be experiencing mental fatigue. So when you proposed the topic, like the good student I am, I started looking up like papers on it and watching some research.
Yeah.
And I was really interested to see some of the working hypotheses on what causes Zoom fatigue. One of them that I thought was really interesting was from, I think it was Psychiatric Times. They were saying that one of the culprits could be the audio delay. So there's like a millisecond delay between, when I speak and when you hear it.
Huh.
And something about that delay could be causing like an interpersonal breakdown between us. So the part of the brain that's assessing, like, am I safe? Are you trustworthy? Like, can we connect interpersonally? Can we safely connect right now? There could be like a little glitch in there because of that audio delay. I was like, oh, that's intriguing.
Yeah, I guess I've never consciously thought about it, but I know when I first started doing, and like I predominantly have used Zoom or like FaceTime or anything like that, where you are having that delay. I kind of had that feeling of like, oh, am I hearing them correctly? Am I like, should I speak now? Like, I don't. It feels like you don't have that like rhythm that you
Yeah.
usually do when you're in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good word for it. Where the rhythm, it's just not as smooth as it is when we're in the same room. The other thing that I was reading about is the disrupted gaze. So eye contact is really important to feel trusted and safe in an interpersonal interaction. And in order to let you feel connected, I have to look at the camera, right? Not at where your eyes are on the screen.
Right.
So from my side, then I feel disconnected from you. But if I want to look down at your eyes on the screen, then to you, it looks like I've got my eyes half closed, right? I'm like half asleep in our conversations. So that disrupted gaze is another reason why our brains are just working extra hard to connect over Zoom, and we're feeling fatigued a lot more easily.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think of also when, like with anything electronic or over the internet, we have those moments where the whole thing freezes, and then you have that like 2 minute of like, oh, can it see me? Can it hear me?
Right.
And then you're back into the conversation because now you're both realizing you can see and hear each other. Okay, great. Where were we? Like, what were we talking about? You lose that. You lose that just like smoothness of, okay, we were on this topic and now we're moving into this topic, but now it's like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Or...
Right. The stop and start. Yeah. That old cell phone commercial. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So for people just tuning in, we're talking about Zoom fatigue, what it is, why it happens, and I think most importantly, how do we deal with it, right? So you had some really good ideas, Nicole, on how to deal with Zoom fatigue.
Yeah. So speaking of research, that was one thing that I just jumped on of like, okay, we can recognize that Zoom fatigue or just being on the computer for a long time is going to cause us to feel fatigued. Now what do we do?
Right.
Because again, it's something that it looks like for the foreseeable future, we're going to be on our phones. We're going to be on the computer. We're looking at screens all day. Okay. So one of the things that is pretty simple, but like something that needs to be reminded is getting up and move. Like I am so used to just sitting here and, I'm doing notes. I'm responding to emails. I'm doing a live stream. And then I'm like, oh, like my legs hurt. Like I didn't do anything. What is up? So I'm like, oh, right. Like I should probably get up and do something. It breaks the day up. It takes your gaze off of the screen. You're giving your brain a rest from seeing all the bright lights and, different things that are happening while you're on the computer. So that's one thing. Another thing is called the 20-20-20 rule. So speaking of looking at a computer all day, one thing that is recommended is looking away from your screen for at something about 20-ish feet away. I mean, you don't have to get your measuring stick out, but just like away from the screen for 20 seconds every 20 minutes. Again, that breaks up the looking at the bright lights, the blue light that comes off of your screen that can start causing those headaches, that feeling of like, mental fatigue, brain fatigue in general.
So do you like set a timer for yourself or?
So you can, or just remembering that like, oh, I've been staring at my screen for a while. I should probably look away. Just, it doesn't have to be like the exact science. It's just kind of like, recommended guidelines of when you should look away from your screen. Highly recommended. But yeah, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy because then you don't want to get anxious about like, ooh, I've been looking at my screen for half an hour. I should probably, now I've messed up my 20-20-20.
Let's not add to the stress.
Yes, let's bring down the anxiety. We're just trying to get you to look away from the screen for a bit. Another thing that I personally did for myself, and I read as, also highly recommended, is dedicating a spot in your house for if you're working from home or doing school from home. It could be a corner of a room that you use. It can be like I have a makeshift office in like our house that like I use. That way you're putting yourself in the position where, okay, this is where I'm working / doing school. I can walk away from this space and I can do my leisure time and I can take myself away from that space. Because part of what's adding to this fatigue is that there is no disconnect from home and work life like we used to have, where we're getting in the car. Okay, I'm going to work now. I have that travel time to think about things. I'm in that space. I come home. Yeah. So you're trying to give yourself okay, when I'm in this space, I'm in work mode. This is my workspace. And then my commute, to that space is my time to kind of get in work mode. And then my commute out is when I can kind of have that transition.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, just things like reducing screen time when you're not working. One of the biggest things that is causing some fatigue, especially eye fatigue or eye strain, is looking at these lights and looking at the screens. It can cause some like headaches. It can cause just your eyes to hurt. You're squinting some of the time to look at things on, like, if it's too small, or you are looking really frustrated because you don't really know if your screen's working, like those kinds of things are all that they all are involved in us being on Zoom or whatever we're doing on the screen. I also, for people who have, a little bit of money that's like kind of stored away or whatever, blue blockers are great. I wear them most of the time when I'm on any kind of Zoom call or just doing email or studying or whatever I'm doing.
So what exactly are they?
So they're called blue blockers. What it does is there's actually like I want to say it's like a film that they put in the lens. And if you put it like a direct blue light, like mine came with a blue light so that I can test them. Mm-hmm. What happens is it filters the light so that it's not necessarily getting right to your eyes. And I've found that I have less eye strain and I get less headaches when I'm looking at the screen for too long.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting to hear your experience with it, because of course Facebook has tried to sell this to me.
Yes.
Right. And now we said it out loud. It's going to pop up again. Just kidding.
Oh yeah, I know. Like my phone's hearing me, and I'm going to get like 5 different.
But I wasn't sure if they were like legit, right? So they're actually helping you.
And I got mine on Amazon. Like I'm not like it was like a 3-pack that I found of different styles, different frames, just so I have a little. I don't know. It makes myself feel good that I'm putting on my glasses and it goes with my outfit. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. So you recommend the blue blockers.
Yes.
The 20-20-20 trick of reducing eye strain, setting up your own space, your own workspace somewhere in your home to differentiate from play space. And did I miss one?
Just like getting up and moving.
Getting up and moving. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's one of the like nicer ones too, of like, oh, like I get to go outside and I'm playing with Bam. It takes me again out of that space, out of that, if you're used to having a lunch break or something like that, and you feel more, I don't think motivated's the word, but like where am I going where I can't look at my email, like it gives you a reason to not
step away. Yeah.
And to give those breaks.
Yeah. Well, those are great suggestions. Thank you so much. I feel like I should get that self-care guide so that I include some of this, the Zoom fatigue suggestions. So don't forget, go to selfcaretips.org/free guide to learn about how you can sort of better take care of yourself in your day-to-day self-care habits. And next Monday, Nicole and I will be back for another live stream to talk about all things mental health.
Awesome.
Bye.
See ya.